cosmic horror perfectly encapsulates the insignificance of human life and the fear of the unknown. An ideal combination for anyone who enjoys their horror with existential crisis sprinkled in. There are many underrated horror films that capture cosmic horror beautifully, and today we're giving you 20 of the best to add to your binge list. Before we begin, we have a tiny request. Please tap that subscribe button. It's a small task for you, but it means the world to us to have you as our subscriber. Thank you. Now let's begin. Solaris. After strange happenings are reported aboard a decades-old space station orbiting the oceanic planet Solaris, psychologist Chris Kelvin is sent to investigate. Before leaving, he interviews retired pilot Burton, who reports seeing a 4-meter-tall child on the planet's surface. On the station, Kelvin finds that all but 2 crewmen, Sartorius and Snout, are either missing or dead. One of the dead crewmen is his dear friend Dr. Jabarian, who has left him a message saying that seeing strange things aboard the station doesn't mean he has gone insane. True to the warning, Kelvin begins to see his dead wife Harry, who is equally confused by her presence. The crew deduces that Solaris uses their memories to generate beings that are not made of atoms. As she is created from Kelvin's memory, Harry cannot die and can only be destroyed by a device called the Annihilator. Meanwhile, the crew suggests beaming Kelvin's brainwave pattern to the planet in an attempt to communicate with it. What is the secret of Solaris, and how will Kelvin cope with the emotions stirred up by seeing his dead wife? Watch Solaris to find out. Directed by the legendary Andrei Tarkovsky, Solaris won the Grand Prix Special du Jury at the Cannes Film Festival in 1972. Although Tarkovsky did not consider it one of his personal favorites, it remains his most widely viewed film outside the Soviet Union. A wonderful blend of science fiction and emotional complexity, Solaris is a film sci-fi lovers should not miss. The Empty Man. In 1995, Bhutan, a hiking trip undertaken by 4 friends, Paul, Ruthie, Greg, and Fiona, takes a dark turn when Paul falls into a crevice. Greg manages to reach him and finds him staring at a massive humanoid skeleton embedded in the cave wall. Catatonic, Paul warns Greg that touching him will cause his death. Greg ignores the warning and carries him out. The next day, Paul whispers something to Ruthie, and she kills Greg and Fiona before throwing herself off a cliff. In 2018, Missouri, former detective James La Sombra, a grieving widower who lost his wife and son a year earlier, is approached by his neighbor Nora to help find her missing daughter, Amanda. Amanda had left behind a message in her bathroom, written in blood, claiming that the empty man made her do it. As James investigates, he becomes entangled with the Pontifex Institute, a cult obsessed with tulpas and the empty man himself. David Pryor's feature directorial debut, The Empty Man, is a 2020 adaptation of the 2014 graphic novel by Vanessa R. Del Rey and Cullen Bunn. Initially a financial failure, the film later gained a cult following and is a must-watch blend of myths, legends, and psychological horror. The Church. Evan is hired as the new librarian in a Gothic cathedral, where he meets Lisa, the artist supervising the restoration of the church's frescoes, as well as the bishop and the kindly Father Gus. Evan and Lisa bond over their love for medieval art and architecture, and Lisa shows him a mysterious parchment she found outlining the architectural schematics of the cathedral. Evan discovers that the parchment refers to a stone with 7 eyes, and heads down into the catacombs to find it, ignoring the bishop's warnings to stay away. What he doesn't know is that the cathedral was built over the graves of devil worshippers killed by Teutonic knights in medieval Germany to contain their evil. When Evan finds the stone, he unknowingly releases the demonic spirit sealed within the catacombs. It falls upon Father Gus to prevent the unleashed evil from spreading, while the bishop, believing the world is already corrupted, thinks it does not deserve saving. The Church, written by Dario Argento, Dardano Sacchetti, and Franco Ferrini, was originally intended to be part of the Demoni trilogy, but director Michele Soavi rewrote it to distance the film from the series. Released in 1989, it may have a weak plot, but its masterful use of special effects and atmospheric tension makes it well worth the watch.
Beautiful. Perfect. I am offering you the kingdom.
Pandorum. After a population explosion leads to Earth's resources depleting, 60,000 people are sent on an interstellar ark, the Elysium, to colonize the Earth-like planet Tanis. The journey would take 123 years, and all passengers are placed in hypersleep while the crew wakes biennially to maintain the ship. 8 years later, one final message reaches the ship from Earth, saying they are the last of humanity and wishing them good luck. Sometime afterward, Corporal Bauer awakens with partial amnesia and possibly Pandorum, a a deep space psychological condition that causes delirium, paranoia, and nosebleeds. That's not the only problem though. There is also a group of humans on board who have succumbed to cannibalism. Pandorum follows Bauer's attempts to remain sane while navigating the cannibalistic group and trying to save what is left of humanity. Directed by Christian Alvord in 2009, the film was a box office bomb. Though it was planned as the first entry in a trilogy, those plans were later scrapped. Not an original idea by any means, but the plot is easy to follow and features stellar acting. Screamers. In the distant future of 2078, the planet Sirius 6b is a battleground between the New Economic Bloc, NEB, a mining corporation, and the Alliance, a group of former miners and scientists. Once a thriving mining hub, Sirius 6b is now a toxic wasteland divided between the two warring factions, and in the vast empty area separating them, AI-powered robots called Autonomous Mobile Swords patrol. Since the robots hunt while emitting high-pitched noises, they are called screamers. The soldiers soon face a horrifying revelation. The robots have gained sentience and begun developing advanced models capable of bypassing the tabs and even passing themselves off as human. This is the premise of Screamers, the 1995 sci-fi film directed by Christian Duguay and inspired by Philip K. Dick's 1953 short story Second Variety. In the original story, the setting was Earth, and the robots were called Claws. If you enjoy small-budget films that make you think, Screamers is the film for you. Annihilation. After a meteor strikes the St. Mark's Lighthouse in the St. Mark's National Wildlife Refuge, Florida, an anomalous zone called the Shimmer appears and gradually expands. Several exploratory expeditions are launched, but only one man, Kane, returns, with no memory of where he was or how he came back. Concerned about his deteriorating condition, his wife Lena, a professor of cellular biology, joins the next expedition alongside psychologist Dr. Ventress, physicist Josie, geomorphologist Casey, and paramedic Anya. Lena soon realizes that the Shimmer behaves like a prism, distorting and transforming everything inside its boundaries, including DNA. As the team begins to descend into madness, Lena must find a way home, but home might not stay the same for long. Based on Jeff Vandermeer's 2014 novel of the same name, Annihilation was directed by Alex Garland, who read the book only once and approached the film as a dream of the novel. The film contains plot holes and logical inconsistencies, but remains an interesting and engaging watch nonetheless. The Endless. Justin and Aaron Smith are brothers who used to do everything together. One day, they receive a videotape from Camp Arcadia, a group they once belonged to. Though they attended the camp at the same time, they remember it very differently. Aaron believes it was a harmless, friendly, and fun community, while Justin insists it was a UFO death cult. Aaron, who longs for the camp, urges Justin to visit it again, arguing that if it were truly a death cult, no one would have been alive to send the tape. Having had no good jobs or solid friendships since leaving the camp, the brothers decide to visit Camp Arcadia for just one day. Aaron takes to the camp like a duck to water, but Justin can't shake the uncanny feeling the place gives him, and he might be right after all. Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead wrote, produced, directed, and starred in The Endless, a sci-fi horror film shot in just 18 days and released in 2017. An original idea filled with confusing twists, The Endless will get you tripping right from the beginning. From Beyond. Dr. Edward Pretorius's brand new invention, the Resonator, is a machine that allows people nearby to see things beyond normal perceptible reality. When his assistant, Dr. Crawford Tillinghast, turns on the machine, he sees strange creatures flying through the air. To learn more, Dr. Pretorius turns the Resonator on full blast, prompting Crawford to flee in fear. When the police arrive, they find Pretorius decapitated and blame Crawford for the murder. Crawford's account of the incident lands him in a psychiatric ward, and his psychiatrist, Dr. Catherine McMichaels, helps him rebuild the Resonator to prove his innocence. When they turn it on, they see Dr. Pretorius, now transformed into one of the creatures, who attacks them. Will they manage to convince the world of what they saw, or will they be locked away in an asylum? Watch the 1986 film From Beyond to find out. Directed by Stuart Gordon, the film is inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's 1920 short story From Beyond. If you enjoyed outlandish and silly special effects paired with a cast unafraid to go the extra mile, From Beyond is the film for you. Resolution. Michael Danube lives a happy life, working as a graphic designer in the city and living with his pregnant wife. Everything changes when he receives an email from his best friend, Chris Daniels. The email includes a video of Chris, now lost to severe drug addiction, living in a remote rural shack. Using a map included in the email, Michael decides to save Chris, despite his wife asking him not to go. He visits Chris and urges him to go to rehab, but Chris goes off on erratic and seemingly delusional rants. Michael then uses a stun gun on Chris and handcuffs him, hoping to force him into withdrawal through cold turkey. As Michael tries to help Chris, he realizes that Chris's rants might not have been delusional at all. Another creation of Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, Resolution is a 2012 film set in the same creature universe as their other works, Spring, Synchronic, and The Endless. Benson and Moorhead bring a fresh approach to indie horror and guarantee a unique viewing experience. The Void. James, a badly bruised and wounded man fleeing from a farmhouse, is spotted by on-duty Deputy Daniel Carter. Daniel rushes him to a hospital, mostly abandoned due to a fire and running on a skeleton crew. What Daniel expects to be a routine shift becomes anything but. He soon realizes that he is caught in the middle of a violent cult affair, and he and the people inside the hospital, his estranged wife and nurse Allison Fraser, Nurse Beverly, Dr. Richard Powell, intern Kim, patient Cliff, pregnant patient Maggie, and her grandfather Ben are surrounded by cloaked cultists while also facing a supernatural threat inside. A Lovecraftian horror tale, The Void, was written and directed by Jeremy Gillespie and Stephen Konstansky. Completely crowdfunded, the film uses almost no CGI, relying heavily on practical effects. If you can overlook the occasional clunky dialogue, the film is a 10 out of 10, but don't expect to understand it in just one viewing. Mandy. Set in 1983, Mandy tells the story of Red Miller, a recovering alcoholic war veteran and lumberjack living in the Pacific Northwest with his girlfriend, Mandy Bloom. Mandy, an artist and author with a troubled childhood, works as a gas station cashier by day and creates elaborate fantasy artwork by night. Red admires and deeply loves her. When Jeremy Sand, the leader of the religious cult Children of the New Dawn, sees Mandy on her way to work, he becomes obsessed with her. He sends his disciples to kidnap her and attempts to seduce her, but Mandy only laughs at him. Enraged, Jeremy burns Mandy alive in front of Red. Fueled by grief and aided by visions induced by psychoactive drugs, Red sets out to take revenge on Mandy's killers. Winner of the Best Independent Film Award at the 45th Saturn Awards, Mandy was co-written and directed by Panos Cosmatos. Nicolas Cage mentioned that he channeled unresolved emotions from the abrupt end of his marriage to Kim Cage into his performance. The editing may feel uneven, but Mandy is a visual feast you don't want to miss. The Arrival. Mild-mannered radio astronomer Zane Zaminsky detects and records an alien radio signal from a star 14 light-years away, Wolf 336. Excited by the discovery, Zane reports it to his supervisor at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Phil Gordy. Gordy dismisses the findings and destroys the tape. Soon after, Zane is fired, allegedly due to budget cuts, and blacklisted from working in other labs. Zane eventually finds work as a TV satellite dish installer and, using his customers' dishes with help from his next-door neighbor Kiki, builds his own makeshift telescope array. He soon discovers that aliens are already on Earth, using advanced technology to take over the planet unnoticed. It is now up to Zane to save humanity. Written and directed by David Twohy, The Arrival is a 1996 sci-fi film that amusingly reuses the Velociraptor sound effect from Jurassic Park for its alien screams. Well made and underrated, The Arrival is enjoyable, if you can look over a few plot holes. Life Force. The Churchill, a joint British-American space shuttle commanded by Colonel Tom Carlson, discovers a 240-kilometer-long spaceship in the coma of Halley's Comet. Inside, the crew finds desiccated bat-like creatures and 3 humanoid bodies in suspended animation. Taking one creature and the 3 humanoids, the crew begins their journey back to Earth. Soon after, contact with the Churchill is lost. A rescue mission later finds the shuttle burned to a crisp, but the humanoids remain intact and are transported to the European Space Research Center in London. Unbeknownst to the crew, they have brought back vampires that drain the life force from humans, the very beings that inspired the vampire myth. This forms the plot of Life Force, Tobe Hooper's 1985 adaptation of Colin Wilson's 1976 novel, The Space Vampires. Like many cult films, it was initially a financial failure. A bizarre blend of science fiction, erotica, and horror, Life Force is a movie that must be seen to be believed. Under the Skin. Michael Faber's 2000 novel Under the Skin was adapted in 2013 under the same name and directed by Jonathan Glazer. The film is an erotic thriller with a plot that is very simple and straightforward. Scarlett Johansson portrays an alien who has taken the form of an earthly woman and roams the roads of Scotland, seducing men to lure them into a liquid abyss where she strips them of their skin and consumes them. As she begins to discover her humanness, she starts letting her prey go and attempts to cosplay as a human. But an evil logger sets his sights on her. He abuses her and then burns her alive. Globally acclaimed for Johansson's acting and Glazer's direction, the film was ranked number 61 in BBC's 100 Greatest Films of the 21st Century list. We can't assure you this film will be entertaining, but we can assure you it will be interesting. The Last Wave. In the 1970s, life in Australia is interrupted by strange weather anomalies such as hailstorms with unusually large chunks of hail and frog infestations. Except for the local Aboriginal people, most remain unaware of the significance of these events. Meanwhile, in Sydney, a fight breaks out in a pub and an Aboriginal man ends up dead in a mysterious drowning. His death is ruled a homicide, and lawyer David Burton is appointed the defense lawyer for the accused Aboriginal men. While working on the case, David discovers his identity as a Mulcural, a descendant of spirits who came from the sun and brought sacred objects with them, and begins experiencing premonitions of an upcoming apocalypse. A major work of the Australian New Wave, The Last Wave is a 1977 film directed and co-written by Peter Weir. Weir does an excellent job directing, and if not for that, watch The Last Wave for the questions it raises. It, the Terror from Beyond Space. In 1973, a rescue ship is sent to Mars, where they find a spacecraft with a sole survivor, Colonel Edward Carruthers. Carruthers is accused of killing all his fellow crewmen, but he claims that a creature on Mars attacked and killed them. Commander of the rescue mission, Colonel Van Heusen, initially does not believe him and keeps him under constant watch. But his view quickly changes when the creature boards the ship. After the alien proves resistant to hand grenades and gas grenades, the crew dons their spacesuits and forces a decompression on board to kill it, and Earth rules out Mars for future space explorations. This is Edward L. Cahn's It, the Terror from Beyond Space, released in 1958 as a double feature with Curse of the Faceless Man. The premise of the film inspired Dan O'Bannon to write Alien. While the special effects may not be the best, the movie handles suspense and mystery well and remains a quintessential horror classic.
I'll get you out of this.
Talk to me!
Forgive me.
Europa Report. Europa Ventures narrates the story of the Europa 1 mission, where 6 astronauts traveled to Jupiter's moon, Europa, to find evidence of extraterrestrial life. The crew consists of Commander William Zhu, Marine Biology Science Officer Katya Petrovna, Chief Science Officer Daniel Luxembourg, Pilot Rosa Dask, Chief Engineer Andre Bloch, and Junior Engineer James Corrigan. The difficult mission is rife with technical troubles and attacks by an unidentified creature. In the end, CEO of Europa Ventures, Dr. Samantha Unger, confirms the success of the mission, but to what extent is left unclear. Filmed entirely in Brooklyn, New York, Europa Report was directed by Sebastian Cordero and released in 2013. One of the more authentic and realistic sci-fi films out there, Europa Report grabs hold of you and doesn't let go until the very end. Prince of Darkness. The second film in John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, Prince of Darkness was released in 1987 with Carpenter co-scoring and writing it as well. Centuries ago, in the Middle East, a secret Catholic order known as the Brotherhood of Sleep discovers a massive cylinder filled with green liquid. They transported it to Los Angeles. In the present day, the last surviving member of the order warns the Cardinal that the sleeper will wake before dying. Searching through his belongings, the Cardinal discovers the location of the cylinder and appoints quantum physicist Professor Howard Birack to study it. Birack brings his students and fellow scientists along, and they soon find out that Satan himself might be inside the cylinder. Carpenter's love of science pushed him to blend quantum uncertainty with religion in Prince of Darkness. The film's strong point is its captivating dialogue. It's not a conventional horror film, but explores evil through the lens of science. Melancholia. Melancholia tells the tale of 2 sisters, Justine and Claire. Justine celebrates her wedding to Michael at Claire and her husband John's castle. The festivities begin with John pointing out the bright star and tarries. Unfortunately, the events that follow are disastrous. First, Michael and Justine arrive late to their own reception. Then, Justine's divorced parents have a nasty verbal fight in front of the guests. Justine's boss announces her promotion and pressures her to write a slogan for a new campaign right there at the wedding. Justine spirals into into depression, cheats on Michael, quits her job, and breaks off the marriage. Meanwhile, a planet called Melancholia hides and tarries, and Justine sinks deeper into despair. As fears grow that Melancholia will collide with Earth, John, Claire, and Justine prepare for the end of the world. Written and directed by Lars von Trier, Melancholia is the second installment in his unofficial Depression trilogy, along with Antichrist and Nymphomaniac. The cinematography is exquisite, with each scene resembling a painting, but the film may not be everyone's cup of tea. You either get it or you don't. X, the man with the X-ray eyes. After Dr. James Xavier invents eye drops that enhance human visual perception, he tests them on himself. Initially, the drops work, allowing Xavier to save lives by diagnosing patients accurately. But with persistent use, he begins to lose control of his vision and sees the world only in overwhelming colors and patterns. The drops eventually damage his mind as well, causing fits of rage and a descent into insanity. X, also known as X, the man with the X-ray eyes, was directed by Roger Corman and released in 1963. Corman went to great lengths to depict Xavier's bizarre visual experiences, even filming a building during construction. Though the effects may seem crude today, they were innovative at the time. The acting is realistic, and the film presents an original science fiction concept that makes you very aware of your senses. Marvelous verdict. Cosmic horrors remind you of the fragility you suffer as a human and the vast beyond that exists outside of the planet we call home. What do you think of this list? Let us know in the comments if we missed any of your favorites. We hope you liked this video, and if you did, let us know by tapping on that thumbs up. We'll soon return with more awesome stuff, and until then, take care.